Hello, I hope you're having a good day. It's really beautiful here. Today's weather is just spectacular in the southwest. I know, unfortunately, people in the southeast have been hit with, a terrible ordeal with the Hurricane Helene doing so much damage and taking, so many lives. And I'm keeping everybody in the southeast in my prayers. So I was just thinking about today. We're coming into the very end of September, which will be the official end of Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. Personally, I think every month should be that, but I get it. That there is, we like to call attention and make sure there is awareness to this particular subject, which has literally become a scourge. With it being the number 2 cause of death for people between the ages of 10 and I believe it's 32, behind accidental death. Then comes suicide. It's really surreal. It's really, there's just really no words for it. Having lived through it, I know that any kind of death is just horrific. But suicide is particularly terrible because there's just so many questions that are left unanswered. All of the whys. They were always there. And, getting back to the survivors being left with a tremendous amount of guilt, whether it's rational or irrational. They're left with a tremendous amount of guilt and regrets. The could've, would've, should've's. I think hindsight is always the best sight. I should have done this. What if we would have done that? You're left with questioning so many things. Even for myself, I question the most absurd things, even going all the way back to my son's childhood, maybe if I would have let him, play soccer instead of football, these kinds of things. You just start questioning all of the most bizarre things in an attempt. Your mind is just going over everything, attempting to figure out something that you really just can never figure out. I had a revelation for myself about yesterday, and I myself had suffered with suicidal ideation when I was a teenager, but then also when I hit about my son's age. I struggled with that too, on and off. And I remember one particular time when I was in Paris. I was there for an art exhibition, and I was alone in my room in this hostel, and I was just so depressed, and there was just this shaft between the buildings, and I caught myself thinking, like, wow, what if I fell down this shaft or whatever? Of course, that didn't happen, but I thought back to that moment, and in that moment, when I was so depressed, I wasn't thinking about anybody else. I was just in so much pain. It didn't mean that I didn't love other people. Of course I loved them. I loved them so much. And then I realized that was exactly the same situation with my son. When he did what he did, it's not that he didn't love anybody else. It was just that he was in so much pain in that moment that he didn't think of anything but getting out of that pain. And that's the same with everybody else that ends their life. It's not that they didn't love other people. It's just that their pain was so tremendous in that moment. They couldn't think of anything else but getting out of it. Like an animal in a trap. That's what caused them to go against their own survival instinct. And with that realization, it did help me a bit. It did help me to see from outside of the box a little bit. because a lot of people that lose a loved one to suicide, they also struggle with feelings of abandonment. Hey, did this person hate me? Did this person not love us? And that's not true at all. But these are the kind of tormenting thoughts that suicide survivors are left with. And on top of, the shock of the loss, and a lot of times the loss is certainly not expected. It's never seen coming at us. We just never expect any of that. So there's just so much, involved in the shocking loss of somebody young, for the most part. And not to say that elderly people don't die by suicide, but I'm mostly focusing on younger people at this point. I know elderly people do too, and their loss is also felt, 100%. Their loss is also felt. But when somebody's young, a teenager, sometimes very young teenager or a young adult, or the loss is extra hard because we grieve the life that we expected them to live. All of that life ahead of them, there was so much promise, there was so much potential, they had so much to give the world, and it's all just, it's gone, and it's just, it's a waste. It's, it truly is. It's a terrible, terrible thing. These people, so many of them had so much going for them. People that die by suicide, many of them are, like my son, was extremely intelligent. He had an IQ of 161. He was a brilliant man. They have so much going for them, it doesn't discriminate. There's people that are valedictorians, and they're very successful in their life, and there's, so much promise, so much potential, and you just can't understand what went wrong, what happened. But it's a mental illness. That's what happened. And illness can strike anybody. Nobody is invulnerable to it. That's just the long and the short of it. Like when you see some young athlete that all of a sudden is struck down with a cancer, you say, how can this happen? And it does. It can happen. So mental illness is a physical illness. Mental illness is an illness, and it can strike anybody at any given time. And that's something that we also have to be aware of as survivors, that we cannot blame ourselves, especially parents. As a parent, you feel your life's task was to ensure your children are safe. And when something like this happens, we beat the hell out of ourselves over it. Going over every last thing, we torment ourselves with things all the way back to when your baby was born. Did I not nurse my child long enough? These kinds of things. And you just have to realize that some things are out of your control no matter what you did. I had, a therapist say to me, you could have had them under lock and key. People still die under lock and key, locked away in mental health facilities or whatever. Unfortunately, this is the reality of it. You cannot control everything, and you have to let go of the guilt. For myself, I do exercises to remind myself, breathing exercises I do to help, keep everything from going wild. I do breathing exercises. I try to get out when the weather is beautiful like today and take a nice long walk, like up on the ridge, and just feel the breeze and see the beauty of things. Even if some days I'm feeling really depressed and I can't see color in a way, like everything just looks flat, I still force myself to get out, and even if it's just take a short walk and just get some sunshine, I try to do that. I'm trying to be more physically active, like trying to maybe involve stretching and maybe start doing a little bit of jogging, something to just step it up a little bit. I also engage in art therapy. Aside from the series that I'm working on, I try to do sketching. I do what I call my, I don't do it every day, but I try to do it like once or twice a week, my emotional weather report. How am I feeling? Is it a cloudy day inside of me? Is it, am I feeling somewhat stable and okay? I try to eat well. I've been suffering a lot of health issues, despite of, how healthy I try to be. And that can be you too. When you're in grief, your body is under tremendous stress. And you just have to ride the wave and hope that, like a ship in a storm at sea, you hope that if you throw enough stuff overboard and you pray and you hold on tight, that you're going to get through it. And that's kind of where we are, but we take steps to really to try and do the best that we can do on our end. I mean, the rest of it really is in God's hands. That's how I look at it. That's another thing. Prayer and meditation, that's a big one. Personally, I'm a Christian, but whatever your belief system is, it's time to lock into that and really, grasp. It is very helpful. I don't think I wouldn't still be here this far in, almost 21 months into this journey if I didn't have a strong faith. That's not to say it's not, I don't question or I never got angry. No, trust me, I went through all of it. And God's shoulders are big enough for your anger. So don't feel that is, somehow or another now you're outside the city camp, because you got angry about the tragedy that happened in your life. It's not like that. But anyway, I was just checking in on this fine end of September day. Again, coming to the end of Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. I'm thinking of everybody out there. I'm praying for all the grieving parents and brothers and sisters and friends that have lost somebody to suicide. And God be with you. And talk soon.